So to make it short, I wanted to be a writer, but I wanted to be an American writer, a North American writer. So my dream was something like, let's say, what was my book at that time? Kerouac, On the Road. But I'm fascinated by that book. That was fantastic. So you get a car, you smoke, but maybe cigarette or two. You drink a couple of bottles of whiskey. You talk about being mystic and metaphysical, and you speak of Oriental philosophy, and you get on the road. You meet a lot of nice babies, girls. They used to say chicks at the time. And you make love under the stars. And I was fascinated by a dialogue on the road. There is a part, a girl fell in love with one of the characters. And she said to him that she wants to marry him. And the main character answers, "Why? The only thing I have to offer you, baby, is my confusion." I was fascinated by that text. So I was so fantastically confused. And I wanted to remain in that confusion. And so I wanted to be really an American writer. Let's say Latin America, Chile, was a little far away at that time from my soul. I lived in a country, in a real country, but my fantasy was at some other place. And this subject, living in a country, a very interesting country, a very dramatic one like Chile, and what was going to happen in Chile later proves what I'm saying. I was living in a real country, but my fantasy was entirely occupied by some other different culture. I wanted that. And I wrote, I think, one of my best books, La Chica del Trombón, the girl with a trombone. And that's the story about people dreaming of going to New York and taking hard decisions to stay in Chile or to leave. And this book has a very dramatic end. So I decided to come to New York. And at that time, it was not so easy. Now you take a plane, you pay about $30 and you come. This is very easy. No, to come to New York, to go to Europe at my time was an adventure. And I had no money at all. So I came in a cargo ship, working, repairing some things. And that was it was not easy because I had to work in the ship. And I was under the orders of a captain who was very severe. But I was having a bad time, but I said that's good for me. Because if I have a bad time, the better is going to be my novel. Of course, I was having an adventure, leaving home, leaving this mood of being assured in a place. No, I needed adventure. So I left and I came to New York, and then I had to make a living here. And that was difficult. And I wanted to make a living. I was a gambler, so to say. I wanted to make a living as a writer. And then somebody, a young man, now everybody is speaking Spanish in New York. At that time, if you spoke Spanish, you better shut your mouth. Now it's fantastic. We have conquered this beautiful city. And there was a friend of mine who said, I know an editor of an important magazine, and what you have to do is to sell stories, because it's not possible that you work at a pizzeria or at a steakhouse. Try to sell your stories. So I wrote stories, but remember that I was fascinated by colleague Kerouac, and that my prose tend to be very long. And I wrote big sentences with confused images. I was mixing everything. And besides, okay, I wanted to be an American writer, but I had a Latin American soul. So I needed space, I need images, I need passion. I didn't have the control of the writers that were published at the time, let's say, in New Yorker. So my friends told me, I have this editor, bring your stories to him. And I took my stories to him. The first time I went, he take a look at my story. It was about a 40-page story, 40 page long. And he said to me, boy, this is too long. You write too much. Why? You have to be concrete, express your feelings but in concrete way. Tighten. So, okay, I came back 1 week later with a 20-page story. No, that's too much, he said to me. And I needed money. Well, I think, oh, I'm lost. I have to go back to my country or find a job. And then I come with a 5-page story, and he found it too long. One day, I saw that this truth. I said, I was furious. And I went to him and I brought him a story that I call Short Story. That was the title of the story, Short Story. And I remember exactly because it was really short. The story ran like this. To make a long story short, I shot her. Well, the publisher took a look at it and said, that's great. I'm going to publish. I will give you a whole page. We're going to leave empty space. We'll put that on. And that happened. And a month later, he provided me with a $50 check. $50 check for me was a fortune. That was the beginning of my professional career. I was completely fascinated. And then it was quite difficult to make a living. I lived to because I realized that there were, and here the point that maybe could be of special interest to you. I realized that I was living the life of so many Latin Americans, that they were dogs after the same bone, so to say. They would like to get some recognition, some warmth, some friendship, and I began to be together with them, and I began to write about them. And the feeling of being a writer on those conditions was extremely good. So I was not living so intense as the heroes of Kerouac, but my underdogs, my outcasts, so to say, they were very interesting people. And these people were from Latin America. And I began to see Latin America from the United States. And the worst my experience was as a poor writer, the more was I beginning to fall in love in the country I have left. And I realized that many Latin Americans lived this dream of conquering New York and experiences this feeling of nostalgia, saudade. And then I moved that line, and it's a writing line that I really never quit. This excitement of something new, a future, and the need to find roots or to create roots in other place. That is an important subject in my literature.